John Livier here, your host for Serious and Silliness Bodybuilding and Serious and Silliness Outcast. Great news. We have a brand new sponsor, Ideal Weight and Aesthetics. This place is a one-stop shop for weight loss, rejuvenation, energy, and anti-aging. This is a brand new startup company located at 160 Lanza Avenue, Garfield, New Jersey. Their number is 732-436-1924. You could also email them ideal@idealweightandaesthetics.com. This is basically what they do. They have a clinician look over all your blood work and they recommend what you should and should not do. They do weight loss, semaglutide and tirzepatide. They offer the NAD injections or drip, which is a brand new technology that everybody is jumping on. IV infusion, testosterone replacement therapy, and peptides, microneedling, and skin therapy. You guys know that I love to support small business. So, really, give them a call, reach out. You'll feel better, it'll make you look better, and you'll be twice the person. You won't be disappointed. Take my word for it. Ideal Weight and Aesthetics. All right, John Livia here, Serious and Silliness Bodybuilding. We got a great guest, great interview. Paul Barnett from Anabolic Bodybuilding YouTube channel. What's up, Big Paul?
What's going on, man?
I really appreciate you coming on, man. I've been trying to get you on for a minute. We finally got it. But I really appreciate it. I've been watching your stuff for some time now, and you're really incredibly intelligent when it comes to the anabolics and bodybuilding and so on and so forth. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background in bodybuilding and whatnot?
Well, the knowledge on the anabolics and stuff is many years of doing all kinds of stupid shit and fucking up.
Yeah, yeah,
It's funny, I give guys a hard time about dumb stuff, and trust me, it's all the same dumb stuff I've done before, man.
yeah. But that's and it's funny is like I think it comes from I don't know if it comes from like blind ignorance or if it just comes from I did that, don't do that. That or
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
And
Because
I know how bros
I did
are.
see one video where you were talking to one of your boys, and I think you were talking to the doctor, and the doctor asked you what kind of steroids have you used, and you're like, all of them.
All of them.
That stupid question is that?
Yeah, all of them, everyone. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because bros will be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I've tried that and it didn't work, and I'm trying to save you from making the same dumb moves that I did when I was younger." But I know how hard-headed people are, and I know how hard-headed I was when I was younger. I had to find out the hard way.
Right.
I had to learn, but hopefully it resonates with some people. But yeah, I mean, I kind of got into bodybuilding as a teenager, probably the same way everybody else in our age group did. You know, I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and all those badasses from the 80s and 90s action movies, and I'm like, I want to look like those dudes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And
Yeah,
I
no.
just kind of started there, and I read all the, I was obsessed with all the muscle magazines back in the 90s, and they were completely full of shit.
Yeah, nobody ever talked about anabolics or anything like that.
Just take
You're
metrics and eat
yeah,
chicken.
it was metrics. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh God, now you're taking me back. Well, how old are you now, Paul?
51.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm 49. So yeah, it was same generation.
Yeah, we're both Gen
Do
Xers,
you
but yeah,
remember in the back of the magazines, they always had like supplements that sounded like the name sounded like a
sounded like
steroid.
like steroid, but they weren't.
Yeah, it was like it would rhyme with Dianabol or it would rhyme with Anadrol,
Yeah.
and they wanted you to order some shitty fucking supplement. Yeah, it was
I
ridiculous.
do remember though, I did kind of stumble into the back of the magazines. That's kind of where I first found out about steroids because I remember buying Dan Duchesne's Underground Steroid Handbook, I think is what it was
Everybody
called.
had it. Everybody had that. We used to have it in the gym and pass it around.
Yeah, I remember getting it in the mail and it came in like this plain brown paper envelope. I felt like I did something illegal.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's
And
just a book. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was just a book, and I was like hiding it. Look, Dan was ahead of his time, but a lot of the information in there wasn't that great either. But it was better than what the bros at the gym are telling me. And then that's kind of where I stumbled into. Are you familiar with Dante Trudell, DC training,
No.
dog crap training? Dante was my first trainer, but Dante had this. underground bodybuilding newsletter where he actually talked about what guys were really taking and stuff, and I
Okay.
kind of got into it from there. And I used to think everybody was natty. I thought Arnold was natty. I thought
We
all
all
those
did as
guys were.
kids. I used to see like Sean Ray on ESPN doing the early morning workouts with Lee Priest, and I thought they were natural.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody did. Um,
I
so go ahead. Did you ever wind up
yeah
getting your pro card?
yeah. I had my pro card.
Oh, okay. When did you turn
It,
pro?
last year I got it.
Oh, very nice. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, I won the super heavies and the overall at Masters Nationals last
Oh,
year.
very cool. Very cool. All right. So it's just a notch on your belt, or you're looking to do a pro show now?
I feel like I got to do one, right? Like I feel like it's like getting drafted into the NFL and then retiring before you ever play a game.
Not playing the game. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
But it's
like, are
funny that
you
you said that because I have a friend who he's 50 and he got his pro card, same thing in Masters. He's up in Canada and he did his first pro show and he decided, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do, a big one. And he went to Dubai, you know. Of course,
that's
he got
cool.
shellacked, but he took a vacation in Dubai. He was on stage in Dubai. He was on stage with, the Tonios and the Tabanis, and then he took a vacation and he's sightseeing and so it's like, you might as well fucking do it, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Look, bodybuilding's at the end of the day, it's my hobby.
Yeah.
It's the thing I do. I mean, look, we all. It's funny because I've kind of gotten to be friends with some of the top pros, and we're all just nerds and love this shit. Really, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, some guys just do it at a higher level than the other people. But I mean, I would like to go out and do a pro show at least once. I'm recovering from surgery right now, so it's out of the cards this year. I was hoping to do the Tampa Pro this year,
Uh,
but I tore my bicep tendon and had to
that's
have it reattached.
cool.
But I'm 3 months post surgery now, so I'm kind of like easing myself back into the gym at this point.
Yeah. So 2026.
Yeah, that's the plan. We'll see what I look like.
Do the New
I'm
York
kind of
Pro and I'll be there. I'll come. I usually go. This year I couldn't go. I forgot why I couldn't go, but I'm literally 20 minutes away from the New York Pro every year in Teaneck, New Jersey. So,
yeah, I've been to that show a few times. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to do bodybuilding or just kind of slab back into classic. When I got my pro card, I was 250 on stage.
wow.
And classic cutoff for me is 232. So I was 18 pounds in the NPC. So I was 18
Yeah.
pounds over the classic cutoff. In the pros, it's 242, which is right where in striking distance. So I feel like maybe that's if I do that, I don't have to take as much gear and probably easier on my body. I don't know if it's super smart walking around at 280, 290 at 51 years old. It's probably not the
Yeah,
smartest
man.
thing.
I completely understand. I was never a huge bodybuilder. I was never huge. I've competed 4 times in the NPC and getting really big was always my issue. I think the biggest I ever got was like 235 and I literally could feel it. Like,
Yeah, you don't feel good.
yeah, you don't feel good. And I was never, 250 or 260 and it never like that. But, walking around now about 195, 200, I'm like, oh, this is fucking perfect.
Yeah, I'm down
Especially
right
at
now.
50 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm down right now to 235. This is the latest I've been in a long time, and
Right.
it's an amazing thing happened. My blood work got better,
Yeah, it's
and
amazing, right?
funny how that works, and
Yeah,
I feel a
right.
lot better. But I've essentially just been on TRT for the last year.
Yeah. So let's jump into that because you are a wealth of knowledge. If anybody has not checked out your YouTube channel, Anabolic Bodybuilding, really, you have to check it out because he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to anabolic.
Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome. I've watched your channel, Dave Palumbo, Milos. You go down the list of all the guys that I've tried to learn from. But then it gets to a point where I feel like he's speaking German, and I'm like, hey, I'm like, okay, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I feel like things are coming full circle, and here's what I mean, right? During the 80s into the early 90s, anabolics were pretty much legal. You can go to the doctor and get certain drugs prescribed and
Yep.
so on and so forth. And then it went really underground. And then, during our time in the 90s, you had to get it from fucking the neighborhood drug dealer or the guys in the gym or whatever the case may be. And, you know, um, go into the locker room or the parking lot of the gym, and that's where you got your stuff. And it was top secret and so on and so forth. And now you see these clinics popping up everywhere. And they're not really targeting bodybuilders, but, they say, oh, TRT, peptides, growth hormone. But basically, it's anabolic steroids, with the exception of the the peptides and whatnot. Do you think you're going to see a full ignite of legalized steroids at this point? Because I feel like we're almost turning the corner.
I hope so. I really hope so because like really when you think about it, anabolic steroids are the only scheduled drug that aren't psychoactive. Like you don't go to rehab for growth hormone and GH.
Right, 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 right,
Or I mean growth hormone and testosterone. That
right.
doesn't happen. You're not going to knock over a liquor store from taking equipoise.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right,
Right. You're not walking around with your head between your legs like a fentanyl addict.
right.
Um, even if you take Tren. Right. So and look, I feel like people should have personal freedom and choice. And if you're not hurting anybody else, really, it should be you should have full rights over your own body to make your own decision with choices with your body. I hope that normalizing some of this stuff will make people realize that it's not the big deal that it was made into. And honestly, the whole reason it was made illegal is because of Olympics in baseball.
Right.
It was all because of that bullshit. And like, who gives a fuck,
Yeah. No,
right?
I fully agree. Two things, a couple of things though. It seems like the majority of people are not like you and me, and here's what I mean by that. The majority of people that use anabolic steroids aren't well balanced, grounded people. It seems to me that the majority of people, even when they use anabolic steroids, they have this addictive personality where more is better,
Yeah.
more is better, more is better. See, and I've used, people ask me what do I use? I use 500 milligrams of test and I use 4 units of growth hormone. And I've been using that for the last, couple of years, and it just works and it's good. And yeah, have I tried all the other stuff? Absolutely, 100%. When I was competing, when I was, experimenting, but I feel like in general, to be honest with you, even back in the 90s, the majority of guys that use anabolic steroids, it either is the gateway to justifying other stuff, or other drugs justified to taking the anabolic steroids, because you see a lot of deaths, and it's never directly related to anabolic steroids. It's either they're 300 pounds and their body's supposed to be 200, or like I had a good friend, Danny Broadhurst, and then we had Doug Fouché, who were addicts beforehand, and you kind of didn't know if they were mixing both together, but they both passed away way too soon. What's your take on that?
Well, you think about the type of person that's going to push hard and
Right.
take anabolics. I mean, they're just inherently probably going to be risk takers to begin with,
Hmm.
typically. I that hasn't been my experience with the majority of the people I work with. Most of them have just been regular people, you know, have regular day jobs that just want to look better, feel better, and be better. But I would say, obviously there are the freaks and the people that push the limits of things. I mean, you could argue the same thing about people that go out and have all kinds of crazy plastic surgery done.
Oh
The
yeah.
guy that's, the guy that's out, you know, generally though, I would say most people that are high-end bodybuilders are going to be inherently risk takers to begin with. It's the type of guy that would go out and ride a motorcycle on the highway at 200 miles an hour and
Well, we've obviously seen that recently.
right, right, that type of person. So, I mean, it's just built into our DNA for that type of person to be aggressive and be a risk taker.
Hmm.
Now, look, here once again, my take is like if you're not hurting anybody else, who cares?
Right.
What you do to yourself is your business. That's sort of my take on it.
Now, you
Uh,
mean when you're talking about anabolics?
yeah, anabolics.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's my take on it too. Because when you get into recreational drugs, people make that argument, but you are hurting yourself and you are hurting other people around you, the people that love you, and you're seeing it. You become
Yeah, yeah.
destroyed.
Maybe I can be proven wrong, but I've yet to see anybody destroy their life from taking anabolics.
Directly related, 100%. Directly related, 100%. Absolutely. It's
It's the other stuff.
right, right. Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Before
Now,
we
that's
get it,
not to say they don't have health consequences if you're reckless. That's not to say that you can't hurt yourself from being reckless, but it's not like you take, I'm not encouraging anybody to go do this, but you could take 20 units of growth hormone, 5,000 milligrams of testosterone this week, and you'll probably be just fine,
Yeah.
right? 20 years down the road, you might not be.
Yeah. Right. 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 Right.
You can't do that with other things.
No, you're 100% right, and I've seen it with myself. I've seen myself using orals, and then my blood pressure is up, and my liver enzymes are up, and then 2 weeks later, after I come off, my blood pressure's back down to normal, my liver enzymes are back down to normal. I've seen it with myself, and it's 100%, it's 100% accurate. Um, the majority of the time, if I've ever used something and I stopped using it, it was mostly because I didn't like the way it felt. Like to me, I liked going to the gym and I liked feeling good and feeling good and looking good. But if something made me feel like crap, to me it wasn't worth it. So like anytime I've used orals like Danabol or Anadrol, I would use my appetite. I would lose my appetite, and I would borderline be sick to my stomach,
Yep.
especially if I would go over 50 milligrams a day. Tren, it was like waking up in pools of sweat, and I was like, this is not comfortable. So I would just get rid of that. IGF-1, same thing. I would feel like I was almost sick. I would feel like, oh, I think I'm getting the flu, and it was just those symptoms constant. So I would always kind of get rid of it through experimenting, but to me, the reward never matched the risk on those drugs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, if you don't feel good, you're probably not going to rest. You're probably not going to perform well in the gym. You're probably going to affect your overall health. And I think and I see that this with some young guys. They definitely want to experiment and try crazy shit. I probably would have done the same thing if I had the sort of access that we have now.
Right.
You know how it was back in the day. You just took whatever the guy in the gym had.
That's it. Whatever was available on the street, that's what it was.
Yeah, and usually it was, at least at the gym I worked out with, it was usually test deck and D-ball. That was the only thing
Yeah.
anybody ever
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that the guys had, so those were our choices. But yeah, I mean, if trend wrecks you, why take it? That's sort of and I mostly I mean, I spend the large majority of the year just on TRT and growth hormone.
Right. Right. Right.
And then when I press things, obviously you got to get aggressive when you're getting on stage and competing with the big dudes.
Exactly.
I'll just run mostly just test Primo, Anavar, things like that.
Right.
Stick with the fairly safe things. And it changes as you get older. Obviously, like I wouldn't go out and drink a fifth of liquor or, do shots of cheap tequila at 51 years old and wake up and feel good the next day like I could when I was 22.
Right.
You
No,
know,
it's
so
true. It's true. Matter of fact, that's happened recently where I was in the gym. It was like maybe 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock on a Sunday. I saw a young guy there and he goes, man, I got so fucked up last night. We were out till 4 in the morning. I'm like, you're in the gym now? But then I thought back to when I was a kid. I was like, yeah, I would have did that too at 21 years old.
yeah, if I did that now, you'd be calling 911.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been a mess.
Maybe it's a different crowd, but most of the people I work with, I find that they're all like hardworking, upper middle class. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do rec drugs.
Right.
Mostly guys that just want to get in shape, or just amateur bodybuilder competitors. The guys that are high level bodybuilder competitors, the serious ones, most of them are pretty anymore, I find are pretty boring in
Yeah.
every other aspect of their life. I just don't think you can be highly successful at bodybuilding and be out partying all the time.
No, and I mean, people bring up Chris Cormier all the time and say, "Oh, he used to party." And yeah, I mean, my answer is, imagine if he didn't.
Yeah, you would have won Mr. Olympia title.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if he really took it serious, you know? And I think a lot of guys with those kind of genetics, Lee Priest is a good friend. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Yeah, he didn't, he was a genetic freak and he took advantage of those genetics. He could have probably, and his mouth got him in trouble too. But and I think a lot of guys were like that. You
The
know,
way I look at it, it's like being 7 feet tall and playing basketball. You don't have to be that good
yeah,
or detailed with your preparation when you're 7 feet tall,
yeah, yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
It's not like the guy that's 5'10".
Yeah,
You got to have everything buttoned up and perfect if you're going to succeed in basketball. Same thing with bodybuilding. If you don't have the greatest genetics, you got to be perfect.
yeah, 100%, absolutely. And I've said this a million times. The best coaches in bodybuilding, well, the ones who are not genetically gifted,
Yep,
the ones that had to split hairs in order to figure out what the problem was to go forward. Those in any sport that
I agree,
yeah,
100%.
in any sport that becomes the best coach, right? When you look at the great coaches, Farah and Cito and Hani rather. I get those guys mixed up all the time. And they were decent bodybuilders, but they became incredible coaches, and I truly feel that that's the reason why.
Yeah, you want the guy who did the most with the least. That's the guy I want to learn
Right,
from.
right, right. Yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, and football example would be Tom Brady. I mean, he's not, I'm not a Patriots fan by any means, but like the dude was horrible at the combine,
Yeah,
right? He's not athletic at all. He is tall, but but he was able to overcome his physical flaws with hard work, preparation, and just, being on top of every little detail.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So let's get down to the basics for people that don't know. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is there are friends of mine at work, and I have family. My brother, they're starting to go to TRT clinics, and they don't realize they think that TRT is TRT, and they don't realize they're taking synthetic testosterone, which is an anabolic steroid. They just like literally have no clue. Um, so basically, I'd like you to break down in the simplest way what is a steroid versus an anabolic steroid, because I know there's a difference.
Well, there's androgenic anabolic steroids. Testosterone is sort of the base that everything is compared off of, right? And everything else are derivatives of essentially testosterone.
Mhm.
We have the 19 Nors, which would include Tren, Nandrolone, Deca, things like mint, stuff like that. So 19 nor testosterone. It's a modification of the testosterone molecule. And what there really hasn't been any development in the last 40 to 50 years, but when the golden age of steroids is probably like from 1950 to 1970 in that time frame. And what they were ultimately trying to do is to try to take all of the things that testosterone did, make it better,
Mm.
and remove some of the negative aspects of testosterone. So you have the testosterone derivatives, which would be D-bol, equipoise. You have the 5-alpha reduced derivatives, which are basically modified forms of the DHT molecule, which would be Anavar, Anavar, Masteron, Primobolan, things like that, that are already reduced, so they don't convert to estrogen or DHT. They're already reduced, and those were designed. They were trying to find things that would achieve muscle growth and prevent muscle wasting, that wouldn't have all the masculinization effects that, let's say, testosterone would. And they were looking for treatments for muscle wasting and diseases that would basically cause you to atrophy, and trying to remove all the negative side effects from it. That was really what kind of had happened. And then some enterprising bodybuilders figured out, well, shit, this grows muscle,
Yeah.
right? D-bol, I think, was the one that was actually synthesized and created for, I think it was made for the Olympics, right? There are some that have been deliberately engineered. Then we have Tren, which is used in cattle. I think it was originally developed for human use, but it was basically a veterinary steroid. Same thing with equipoise, was a veterinary steroid, but they're all derivatives of the testosterone molecule. They're modified versions of the testosterone molecule. And what we have is, there's only so far you can take testosterone up before you have side effects and problems because of the estrogen conversion and DHT conversion, which is where you're going to have a lot of the side effects from testosterone. And there's ways to mitigate it. And usually what we'll do is add secondary compounds to that to leverage more effects, of the positive effects that we're looking for without the potential side effects. Now, some of these are super potent. So, for example, like Tren, on paper, Not, this doesn't translate into the real world, but on paper is 5 times anabolic and 5 times as androgenic as testosterone, milligram for milligram.
Right.
Anybody who's taken Tren knows.
Right.
Trent's extremely potent. Something like Primobolan is going to have less of the masculinization effects. It's pretty low on the androgen effects, and it's basically just an anabolic. Same thing with Anavar, so it has the muscle growing effects without all the other things. But there's varying degrees of them. They're all different. They all are derived from the testosterone molecule essentially.
Okay. Now, there's been like I talked to a lot of younger guys in the gym, and they immediately kind of want to jump on the hard stuff. Uh, when a 21, 22, 23-year-old bodybuilder comes to you and asks you your advice, what is your immediate reaction to I want to start a cycle and I want to jump on trenbolone and anadrol and testosterone? What kind of things and signs do you look for, whether they should not, or continue to train natty, or push them in a position where they want to try something lighter?
Well, here's the way I look at it. I mean, I hear people preach abstinence. You shouldn't do that until you've been training for 5 years. Blah 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 blah. That's like telling a horny 17-year-old not to have sex, right?
Right. No,
It's not going to work, man.
no, it's yeah.
They're just they're just going to do the thing, right? And I think the best thing that we can do is to try to educate them to, you know, look, you should probably learn how to train. You should probably learn how to eat first.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get the most out of it until you've got those buttoned up. But if you're insisting on trying it, let's do it safely. Let's do it safely. Let's be intelligent about it. Let's start from the ground up and build from there. And the parent male hormone and the thing that's going to be the base of every cycle that you do moving forward is going to be testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the starting point for me. Start with testosterone, start there, see how you handle it, see how you respond to it, see what side effects you have. Are you a high estrogen converter? Are you going to lose your hair? Are you going to get acne? Find all those things out. Start off with basically a TRT dose or slightly above a TRT dose, taper up, find out how you deal with it, run that first, and then you can start thinking about secondary compounds down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be, I think, the starting point. I hear a lot of people, and this is kind of what I did when I was younger, starting with an oral only cycle,
Everybody.
and that dumb shit. Usually, what you're going to do is end up shutting yourself down, getting a bunch of side effects, and then you're going to crash when you fucking come off,
Right.
and you're
Right.
just going to make shit worse. Just start with testosterone, do it safely, monitor your blood work, see how your body responds to it, go from there, and then just slowly work your way up. It's progressive, just like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of guys want to come out of the gate running the crazy high doses and running a bunch of different compounds. To me, that's like eating when you're 185 pounds. That's like eating 6,000 calories and trying to bench press 400 pounds.
Yeah.
You're
Mm.
just going to break yourself.
Yeah. You're gonna throw up and you're gonna drop the weight on your neck. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just going to kill yourself. It's the same thing with, you do not have the muscle mass yet to warrant taking high doses. And yes, you can bully it to a certain degree with higher doses, but there's only so fast you can accumulate muscle. I mean, we have real life examples we can look at. Nick Walker probably put on the most amount of muscle that I've ever seen a human being put on in a 7 or 8 year period of time, and he put on about 100 pounds.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So we can extrapolate that and do the math on it. That works out to be about 12 pounds of muscle a year, something like that. 13 pounds of muscle a year. And look, that's not linear. Probably the first year he put on more, and then it went from there. But that's the best case scenario. We know that that's when everything is perfect. When you have everything buttoned up,
Right.
your superhuman genetics, everything's lined up. So guys that expect more than that realize that that's the best case scenario.
Right. Right. Yeah. Sam would put Samson in that category too.
Yeah, Samson's in that category. Probably more so. I know Nick personally, and I know Nick is a hard worker, and
Yeah. Oh,
and and
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Samson could probably mow lawns and get big, but
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
yeah, no, not to take anything away from the guy. He's a great bodybuilder, but
Yeah.
he's like in that Ronnie Coleman territory, where
Yeah.
just God gifted him with the best possible genetics.
Yeah. No, I fully
I
agree.
I'm sure he works hard. I don't know Samson. I don't know anything about him, but I would say that Nick probably is not as genetically gifted
Oh,
as
absolutely. I mean, he just structurally he's not. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so he had to work. He had to put in a little bit more work. But that's the best case scenario. So that's something that a young guy would need to keep in perspective. All right, you look at that guy, well, that's the most I can expect if everything's dialed in. And it's look, everything in bodybuilding, really in life, as far as setting goals and achieving things, is all progressive.
Hmm.
You progressively get better at things. You progressively increase the capacity of what you're doing day by day, little by little, little by little. You work your way up, you chip your way at it. And it's just one of these things you have to do for an extended period of time. And this is another thing I tell guys, like, look, we know it took Nick Walker really 7, 8 years to put on the amount of size necessary to turn pro.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen if you come out of the gate running Tren, Anadrol, DHB, all the other toxic shit? Are you going to last long enough to
Right.
get big enough to be a pro bodybuilder? Probably not. You're probably going to we see examples of it. We see all the young social media influencers. I forget the guy's name. I think it was John Skywalker, right? Kid that was in the hospital and made himself super fucking sick from taking all the, and I'm not trying to, slam the kid. I mean,
No,
it probably, he
we
was
have plenty of we have plenty, Boston Lloyd, we have plenty of examples where, tragedy happens due to young guys just slamming themselves with.
slamming himself. So like, and they didn't get there any quicker or any more efficiently. They didn't achieve more than the people that did it with a more intelligent approach. They
Yeah.
just made themselves sick. And if you take so much that you make yourself sick and damage yourself, you're not going to grow. It's only going to work for so long.
Right. Right. Now, do you think that's because of, you think it is because of the lack of attention span and the instant gratification, or is it the fact that we have all these anabolics at our beck and call, whether it's the internet or TRT clinics, or is it a combination of both? Because I hear a lot of old school guys say, "Oh, we didn't take that much stuff," and so on and so forth. And my attitude is, well, but if you had it available, you would have.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, if somebody took a fucking gram of gear, that was a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I never heard of anybody taking that much, at least I mean, I know there were guys that were probably at the pro level. I mean, there were probably guys doing crazy stuff, but it's just impatience. And I think there's been a lot of glorification of it on social media too. Like
yeah.
guys just use talking about super high doses as a way of getting views and attracting more attention. And look, I'm not saying it doesn't work. More does work, but it is a thing of descending, declining returns. The more you go up the spectrum, the less of return that you're going to get as you get bigger. So
Right.
there is that aspect of it too. So look, I think it's just impatience and recklessness and you know how young men are. I mean, I was the same guy, man. I wanted
Absolutely.
the short, everything I did, I wanted the shortcut.
Yeah, and I think that's that's just human nature. I think it's just gasoline on the fire with social media, uh, instant gratification, and the availability of the anabolics today, right? With all these
Well, and you think
underground
about
labs.
that Nick Walker example I gave you, he averaged 1 pound per month. You
It's
think about that, that's a quarter pound per week.
it's insane.
You're not even going to see that in the mirror from
Yeah,
week to week,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
Right. And that's the type of, I think that's the part that people miss. They don't understand. That's the type of persistence and patience that it takes to be a successful bodybuilder. You have to be willing to just grind away at it for a long fucking period of time and be patient. Um, and and I think guys like things that they think they're seeing instant results with, like, you D-ball and trend and things like that. You're going to blow up quick and then you lose it all.
Right.
And people like that. And then also they like to feel like they're doing something. They like not necessarily, like you definitely know you're on trend. You don't feel Primobolan or growth hormone when you're on it.
You're 100% right. Especially growth, especially growth hormone. Then I,
Yeah, I get guys all the time that'll start taking growth hormone and they're like, "Is this supposed to do something?
yeah, oh, absolutely. And I'm
I
like,
don't
man,
feel
it
anything."
takes a long, and I tried to explain to people that it's one of those things that take a long time. And exactly like you said, it's not like test or trend or whatnot, Debo, where you're gonna get hit by a ton of bricks in a month. It is something that after 6 months you look in the mirror and you go, ah, okay, I see it now. I see a difference in my structure now, my
Yep.
body
And that's the patience that's required really to be successful at anything. It's not just bodybuilding.
now. Right,
You don't make yourself a millionaire in 6 months.
right.
And not unless you win the fucking lottery or just get extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Everybody I know that, I've run businesses my entire life. Everybody I know that's been successful in business, they're grinders.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
And
And it's
bodybuilding is the ultimate grinder sport. You have to grind away at it for a long time, and you have to be patient. You have to be consistent.
yeah,
And that's the thing with the PEDs. Like you have to have a tolerable dose that you can stay healthy on long enough to achieve that level of success. If you gas out in 4 years, you're not going to be big enough to be a pro bodybuilder.
yeah, yeah. No, that takes me to a side conversation, but I see this a lot too. Like I've gone to plenty of NPC shows and whatnot. Your your genetic potential too, I think, comes into play here as well.
Yep.
Like I knew by the time I was 35 or yeah, 35, 36, something like that. I was like, I knew that I was like, okay, I'm not going to get any bigger here. And I always wanted to be a pro bodybuilder and always, so on and so forth, but it was not in the cards. And I remember all the combination of things. The last show I did was 2014, and I remember the combination of things where it was like, I'm just not suited for bodybuilding. I can't get any bigger, no matter how much more I eat, no matter how much shit I take. It is what it is. I've reached the limit, and uh, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realize their genetic potential as far as being limited, right?
Yep.
And um and they waste years and years and years of just pushing, pushing, pushing for something that's just not going to happen. And you see men and women in their 30s, in their 40s, into their 50s, still competing, still competing, still pushing, still pushing. Meanwhile, you're wasting your time. You could be tunneling that energy into something else. And I see this, and it's kind of like the it's kind of like the dark secret of bodybuilding, where it's like there's a lot of people that waste time and energy and youth and throw it all out the window for something that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, here's the way I look at it, man. It's sort of like I'll go back to the basketball example again. I was a basketball player, and it's the clearest example of genetics
Right,
that we have in sports. If you're 5'2" and you want to play in the NBA, it probably ain't happening, man.
right, yeah, right.
Right? I mean, it's just, but that doesn't mean you can't go out and play a rec game or a backyard game and have fun,
Right, exactly.
right? So, and that's sort of the way I look at there's professional bodybuilding and there's recreational bodybuilding. And you're right, though. I think there are some people that just keep chasing that dream. And I don't want to shoot anybody down from chasing their dream. Usually, like when I've worked with people, quickly if somebody has genetics. Like if a dude, if you take 250 milligrams of testosterone and you put on 20 pounds in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you probably got pretty decent
Yeah,
genetics.
yeah.
And then I've seen dudes that'll run grams and that are literally non-responders.
Yeah.
Fucking nothing
Nothing
happens, man.
happens. Nothing happens. It's unbelievable. And they always wind up asking the wrong question. How much more can I take? What else could I take? And I'm like, at this point, you're asking the wrong question, man. You got to change something else because and limit and realize that what you're doing is wrong. And don't worry about everybody else. Did you make gains? Did you become better? And that's fine. But I
Yeah, and
see
that's the
it.
way
I don't know how many NPC shows you've been to recently, but
a lot.
I've seen. Have you noticed the large amount of masters like that are in these? in these
Well,
shows now?
I'm headed to Masters Nationals next week, man. I won my pro card at Masters Nationals. There
Right.
were 1,100 competitors in that show last year.
Exactly. That's exactly okay. Right. 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 And to do a show like that, it's a lot of time, a lot of money. Most of these people don't have sponsors.
Yep.
It's isolating
I won the
family.
overall, man. I don't have anybody sponsoring me.
Right. Yeah. 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 Exactly.
I got
Yeah.
paid nothing.
Yeah. No. And that was one of the things that said, okay, time to pack it in before you waste more time. So with me, it was I won several Masters overalls in NPC shows, and then uh I had a laundry list of stuff I was doing, and I went to go talk to a couple of trainers, one of which was Oscar Arden. I don't know if you remember him.
Hmm.
He used to train Kai, and I went to talk to her. Oh, did you ever have you tried insulin? I have not tried insulin, and and I was like, I don't know if I want to try insulin. And then I went to Team Universe, and that was the year that Team Universe, John Meadows won the overall. And I remember looking at him, going, I'm not going to be able to look like that. No matter what I do, I'm not going to be able to look like that. And it's just kind of coming to terms with yourself. It's not killing your dream. It's understanding your limitations and take that energy and do it, putting it to something else. And this podcast is exactly what I've done with that. My love for bodybuilding has transformed from competing and wanting to turn pro into this podcast because I realized my true potential is better here than it is on stage.
Yeah, I mean that's a great realization, man. And look, I don't want to take anything away from anybody who wants to compete. And this is what I tell guys that come to me. It's an awesome personal journey, man. It's probably going to be one of the hardest things that you'll ever do in your life for most people, getting ready for a show. And I think the personal, you be realistic. Like most people, I did a thing on the odds of getting a pro card, and it was actually I did the math on it and people got mad at me about it. I don't know why, but you actually have better odds of getting drafted in the NFL than winning a pro card. I mean, it's pretty, even at the Masters level. I mean, there's only 20 couple Masters pro cards in the entire fucking world every year.
Yeah,
28, I think it was in bodybuilding.
yeah.
And, that's just in bodybuilding. So there's 28, something like that. But look, that doesn't mean you can't go compete in a local show and have fun and set a personal challenge for yourself. I think that's okay. But you be realistic about it.
Hmm.
Be realistic about where your physique is at. And I love the sport. I love competing. Dude, I'd be out there I'd be one of those guys out there competing even if I didn't win. I
Oh,
just
okay.
I just like doing it. I just enjoy doing it. It's the same thing with basketball. I mean, I loved basketball. I played a lot of basketball when I was younger. I quickly came to the realization when I was in college that I didn't have the genetics or the athletic ability to play at a higher level. Be an NBA player. Like when you actually play with guys that have been real NBA players, it's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big difference.
yeah, big difference. When you stand next to Samson Dawda, you're like, oh, okay. Or
Yeah,
when you see Big Ramy in person, right?
yeah,
Like shake his hand, look at him. You're like, yeah, I don't. There's nothing I can do that I'll ever look like.
yeah. And that's exactly what was my attitude when I saw John Meadows win that pro card, and I was like, I'm never gonna look like that. It's just I'm
I
kidding myself.
remember my coach, Justin Harris. I mean, Justin was a pretty competitive bodybuilder. I mean, he placed pretty high. I mean, he just missed his pro card a couple times. I mean, he was a big dude on stage. He was 250 on stage. Not a small guy, but Justin talks about like his last national show when he went there and Phil Heath was there.
Oh, jeez.
He competed against Phil Heath and they were backstage talking to Phil, and it was literally Phil's first cycle.
Yeah,
He talked about like running like 300 milligrams of DECA, and Justin said, I realized then like, what am I doing?
yeah,
Phil
yeah.
didn't
No,
even know Phil
absolutely.
didn't even know what the hell he was taking. He didn't like he had just started competing and this guy was going to crush everybody out there. Nobody had a chance to beat
Yeah,
the
no,
guy.
and I there's something about people that have to be kind of self-aware. It's this awareness where you have to realize that it's not going to happen, and it's not shitting on somebody. It's not hate. It's realization because you are going to waste time and energy and money, and before you know it, you're going to be at an age where you can't get back time. It's impossible. You're going to be at an
Yeah,
age where you're gonna, if you haven't, if you didn't regret it, then you're too stupid to realize it, and you're still chasing that dream at 50 or 55, whatever the case may be.
yeah.
But I'd like to go into a little bit of if we can. How much time we got? Okay, we got some time. I'd like to go into a little bit of insulin because that was the only thing that I said that was the line that I wouldn't draw, that I wouldn't cross rather. When a couple of coaches that I went to go see said, you ever try Slin? That was, and I said no, and I'm not going to. And I remember going home and discussing with my wife and saying to myself, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna cross that line. I don't want to. I don't want to go to the Masters Nationals or Team Universe and get a fucking top six trophy and for putting all this time and effort into something that's just not gonna happen." Um, was I accurate with saying no to insulin, or was it something that I could have experimented with? But to me, that was the no. I'm not crossing that line.
Look, I don't think insulin's sort of the boogeyman of bodybuilding. I think there are things that people take that are more dangerous than insulin. One could argue that the orals and stuff that people take are more dangerous than insulin. The thing with insulin is it does carry in, if you don't know what you're doing and you can't do math, there is an acute risk of death. If you take too much, you could lay down and take a nap and never wake up again. Um, uh, but I'm a diabetic, man. So I've been diabetic for a long time. I'm acutely aware of insulin. I've used it for years.
Hmm.
There aren't a million jacked diabetics walking around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's not the be all end all miracle that everybody thinks it is.
Okay.
I think there are guys that out there that think that insulin is with the key differences between them being a pro body and builder and not. It's really just a nutrient transport tool at the end of the day. What it's going to do is facilitate your body to be able to really, like when you look at it, like when you see guys eating high amounts of carbohydrates, the only way you're doing that efficiently is by using insulin, which is going to help with the uptake of those nutrients. Insulin itself is not directly anabolic, but the downstream effects of taking insulin, being able to shovel down more food, promote more glycogen synthesis, um, helping with amino acid transport, all the other things that insulin help with, long term can provide a benefit in additional growth, but it's not like this miracle. Everybody thinks there's that one thing they didn't take that's going to make them huge. It's insulin or IGF-1 or DHB or well, I took the generic GH, it's going to be pharma GH, it's going to push me over the top. Look, it's like I said, if you blew up on your testosterone only cycle, you probably have what it takes to be
Right.
a bodybuilder. If you've tried everything else and you haven't gotten huge, insulin's not the missing ingredient that you're missing out on. And the way I approach insulin is if you are a person that has potential to vie for a pro card, it is a tool in the toolbox that could potentially push you over the top. But if you're a guy that has shit genetics, a recreational bodybuilder, it's probably not even worth messing with, man.
Right. Okay. All right.
That's sort of my take on it. Look, I've taken insulin off and on for a decade and a half being a diabetic. It helps some, but it's probably 5%, I would say.
Okay. 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 Here's another anabolic question for you. Um, Everybody wants to use Anavar.
Yeah.
Is it as safe as they say it is, or because it is still an oral? So everybody's scared of Anadrol and Dianabol, but they'll take Anadrol because they believe it's safer. Is it as safe, or is it just a less toxic oral?
Um, look, here's the thing with orals, all of them. I don't, everybody gets obsessed with the liver toxicity with the orals. I have yet to see any bodybuilder die of liver failure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've not seen one guy die of liver failure. The liver is extremely resilient. Um, you can you can fuck your liver up pretty good and bounce back from it. And I'm not encouraging guys to go out there and try to fuck their liver up, but I've seen guys with ALT and ASTs over 1,000 and been able to completely recover and get back to normal.
Right.
Uh, the things that really are our biggest risk as far as bodybuilders is killing us is this long-term cardiovascular risk, heart attacks, strokes, cardiovascular disease, blood clots. And here's the thing that the part that gets overlooked with orals, and I think that is really the more dangerous part of it. The liver toxicity is not the thing that I worry about so much. It's how it affects your lipids, how it affects your cholesterol.
Mm.
And all orals, even Anavar, are strongly suppressive of HDL and tend to make LDL go up. And in short spurts, if you're on contest prep and you're running it for the last 5 or 6 weeks and you're already on a low-fat diet and you're doing a ton of cardio, the risk is probably pretty low. But if you're running Anavar year round and you have single-digit HDL, your LDL's through the roof. You're running and then the other thing is orals tend to increase blood pressure more so than
Right.
other drugs. So that combination of elevated lipids, high blood pressure, elevated hemoglobin, and hematocrit are a recipe for having a heart attack, stroke, or cardiovascular event, or throwing a blood clot, pulmonary embolism. Look, I think, out of the choices we have, Anavar is the safest. We looked at the safety profile of it, but it's still pretty much equally as bad as Anadrol for crushing your lipids so that is something to consider. I do like orals here and there. They're spot duty, something that you want to run periodically. I
Right.
don't like them in the off season. And I think most bodybuilders, professionals you talk to end up eventually coming to that conclusion because it does mess up their blood panels, fucks their stomach up. They can't eat. If you can't eat, you're not going to grow. Well,
Right.
contest prep, who gives a fuck? You're trying not to eat anyway.
Anyway. Right. Right. Right.
Right. And so there is a cosmetic effect that's achieved on contest prep that you can do more efficiently with orals. But this is the way I look at it. The stuff that's more toxic, the stuff that is higher risk, we want to limit our exposure to it. We don't want to run it very often. And if we do choose something that is more toxic and higher risk, it better damn well do something very well that you can't accomplish with something else.
Hmm.
So, like clearly at the end of contest prep, there really isn't much of a replacement for Winstrol. Winstrol just has an effect on your look that you just can't really replace. But you don't
Right.
want to be running Winstrol 365 days a year. You could argue with Anavar. Anavar doesn't do anything uniquely well that you can't accomplish with something safer like Primobolan or Masteron.
Yeah.
I mean, so my thought process is, why would you do that?
I couldn't agree more. I honestly, I couldn't agree more. If you're going, and my attitude is, if you're going to run orals for 6 weeks for a short period of time, you might as well get the best bang for your buck. Otherwise, don't use orals. That was always my attitude. If you're going to do it for 5, 6 weeks, you might as well jump on Dianabol or Anadrol.
Just take the
Otherwise,
A bombs.
yeah, right. Otherwise, don't use orals at all. Stick to,
Yeah.
anybody who's interested. I say, test and Deca, and you'll be fine, man. Really, you'll be fine.
When I won my pro card last year, man, I didn't even run trend.
Yeah, that's
I just I just did test Primo Masteron,
right.
and I ran Winstrol for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks before my show. That was it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, here's the thing, though. I don't know. Instead of people listening to guys like yourself, to guys like Dave Palumbo, to guys like who have been there and done that, I think they're really just listening to these social media influencers that are young kids that are just the trend twins and rest in peace Boston Lloyd, and you go down the list, and they're just because they're young and they relate to a younger person, and they see a six pack and they go, that's what I'm gonna do. But I always make the comparison to my trade. I'm a sewer worker, but I had a trade as an electrician for 10 years before I became a sewer worker. And my attitude is like, if I come to your house and I'm going to do electrical work, and you're shopping around for electricians, and I say, I've been doing this for 6 months, you know, and I don't have a work truck with me. I just have a car, no tools. And then the next guy comes and he has a van and he's a licensed electrician with insurance, and he's got 5 guys working for him, doing it for the last 25 years. Who are you going to
Yeah,
listen? Who are
the
you
guy with
going to?
experience.
Yeah, exactly. But I think these young guys, like, they don't even like. I speak to a lot of young guys in the gym, and they go, "Oh, do you follow this one and that one and blah blah blah," and they don't even know who Dave Palumbo is. They don't know who you are. They don't know who Chris Aceto is, and it's like, wow, dude, you're listening to the wrong people. I try to put that into perspective, but it just seems like they just find like something in common with the younger guys. I don't know, and maybe it is this excitement of using so much stuff, and being a social media influencer with 1 million followers and making money and so on and so forth. And they go, no, I'm going to do what that guy says. What's your take on that?
Well, the stuff that I'm saying and those other guys say, or like Dave and people like that, isn't fun or exciting,
No, exactly. Right. Yeah.
right? Saying, hey, look, you gotta get into the gym for 10 years, eat the same thing every fucking day, take test GH, don't worry about the weird stuff.
Right.
Do that every day, 365 days a year for the next decade, and you'll be a pro bodybuilder. That doesn't sound attractive.
No, not at all. It's real.
That taking peptide SR 151 from Bulgaria that's gonna blow you up overnight and turn you into Hercules in 8 weeks sounds way more sexy and attractive than putting in a bunch of hard work for a long period of time.
Yeah. 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 And I wish that was excluded just to bodybuilding, but it's not. Obviously, that goes with
It goes with
everything.
everything,
It
man.
really does. If you want to invest money and you say open up an S&P 500 mutual fund, that's really in 30 years you'll double your money. Like, people don't want to hear
I mean,
that.
the social media influencer PED cycle to me is the financial equivalent of day trading.
Right, exactly. Yeah, thank you. It's
Right,
exactly
right.
that.
It's a get rich
Yeah,
quick
yeah,
sales pitch that only works for like 1 out of 1,000 people.
yeah. Right, right, right.
It is funny because like I did a video recently, and it just kind of aggravates me, man. Like with a lot of the science people and the people that overcomplicate shit, the formula of what works is right in front of everybody's eyes, man. It's just right there in front of you. You can look at the thousands of dudes that have turned pro or been top level NPC competitors. They've all done the same shit, man. They all pretty much work out the same way. They either do a bro split or a PPL split. They do some sort of moderate to high volume training or moderate, whatever. They train hard. They train hard. They train progressively. They're in the gym 5, 6 days a week. They all eat meat and rice 5 or 6 times a day, and they all take test, GH, EQ, Primo, or Masteron, and then they call it a day.
That's
And
it.
they do it over and over every day, year in, day in, year in, out, year out, just over and over. And they're examples of consistency and dedication. And that's not sexy or fun, but that's what works.
That's it. And that's true with anything that you want to accomplish in life. It's never going to be overnight, like you said, unless you're very lucky. But for the most part, it is going to be a grind. And I think one of the greatest attributes a bodybuilder portrays is the fact that he has the discipline, and he has the wherewithal, and he has the stomach to put the time and effort and the grind into. And we kind of get looked at like, oh, it's just a dummy that lifts weights up and puts things down, and so on and so forth. Where really, guys like yourself, and I don't want to put myself in your category, but me, we're constantly learning, constantly, and I'm
Well,
constantly talking to people like you, and constantly reading, and constantly looking at things on YouTube and in the gym, trying new stuff, and realizing that the old stuff still works, and blah 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 blah. And
I mean, we all have the same journey, man. Like, I may have been a little more blessed genetically than you were, but we all do. You doesn't mean you work out any less harder than I am. That doesn't mean you do anything different than I do. I just happen to, get lucky and have good parents,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
So like, um, it's just really like and that's why I love bodybuilding so much, to be honest with you, man, because it really is a metaphor for everything else you do in life. I think if you can learn how to be patient and grind away at a goal, you can take that skill that you learn of how to push yourself, how to stay consistent, how to grind, and put it towards anything else you do in life. You want to
100%.
learn how to play the guitar. It's the same fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
You want to start a business and be successful in a business. It's the same thing. You
Podcasting, same thing.
yeah, just consistently chipping away at it, progressively getting better, trying to do a little bit more each day to improve yourself and just doing this over and over and over and over again.
Right. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I just have one more question.
Sure.
This is actually a fun question, to be honest with you. Have you experienced the opposite? Now, I've experienced this a lot because sometimes I don't go to a hardcore gym. I go to, a corporate gym, LA Fitness, Retro, so on and so forth. And people will talk to me about using anabolics, but they're scared shitless. But there's something in them that wants to use it. And they're like, no, I only want Anavar. I'm only going to use Primobolan. I don't, and I go, dude, nobody's putting a gun to you. You don't have to do this if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Have you noticed it? Because I've noticed the scared user more than I've noticed the guy that just wants to blast everything into him.
Well, there are the cautious people, there are the reckless people, and then there's everybody else in the middle.
Right. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you got the guys that are the hypochondriac that take one pill and think they're dying.
Yeah. 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 Right.
You know,
Right.
the funny thing with that crowd is they end up doing the stuff that's actually more dangerous. They end up taking shit like SARMs and stuff like that, thinking that that's the safer route.
Yeah.
And, half the damn SARMs are worse for you than just taking testosterone.
Yeah. And what's funny? It. If you could, if you could bypass if you could, let me rephrase that. If you could bypass reasoning and hit emotion, you don't have to worry about people being reasonable. So what I mean by that is because steroids have just a terrible stigma on them, people go, I'm petrified. I don't want to use it, even though the information and the research has been there for 100 years. And then SARMs comes out. They don't have any stigma. There's very little research, but nobody's really shitting on it. They go, I'd rather try that. And logically, it doesn't make sense, but nobody has put a national bad reputation on SARMs, so people are not afraid of it. And it's like literally controlling your emotion and just excluding reasoning.
Well, I mean, most people operate on fear, right? And
Right.
they don't think things through logically. I mean, when you think about SARMs, they were in an attempt to make basically they're selective androgen receptor modulators. Steroids are selective androgen receptor modulators. It was just a new class that the pharmaceutical companies were trying to make that they thought they could do it safer, but they ended up not being safer, so they threw them in the trash.
Uh,
Right? They didn't work, and they had a worse safety profile than the actual stuff that worked. And so people are actually taking the shit like most androgenic anabolic steroids were FDA approved at one point in time. Still, testosterone and growth hormone and Anavar still are,
right.
right? They were past clinical trials. They were we have a long track record of safety, and we know what the risk and the risk profile of taking those are. And then people will literally avoid those to take something that has no track record of proven safety and never have been tested in human clinical trials. Same thing with some of the peptides and stuff too.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I really couldn't. Um, I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's been an hour already, but it has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, man.
I could talk to you for like 3 hours, because I could pick your brain for God knows how
Any
long.
anytime you want me on, let me know.
Oh, that'd be great. And you're a wealth of knowledge. Anabolic bodybuilding, Paul Barnett. You have anything coming up besides the YouTube channel? You have anything you want to plug? Anything like that?
Nothing. No, not really, man. Just head over to Anabolic Bodybuilding. I have my Anabolics e-course if you want to learn more about PEDs. I have a deep dive. There's over 60 hours of content in there and 100 plus modules in the course if you want to learn about it. I put it together with research scientist Kurt Havens, who's a PhD candidate in endocrinology. So it's all smart stuff. I also have my PED cheat sheet if you just want the cliff notes and how to do stuff safely.
I
That's
gotta
on my
do that.
website.
I gotta get on that. Absolutely. But yeah, it is a pleasure. Much respect and much love to you, Paul Barnett. And go to Anabolic Bodybuilding. Believe me, you won't be fucking disappointed. The guy is a wealth of knowledge. Sir, thank you very much. I truly appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.